What if the world you live in is missing a piece of its soul? Lemuria wasn't just a lost continent, it was a lost consciousness, a golden age of humanity tragically veiled from modern eyes. Long before Atlantis, long before the meticulously crafted narratives of history you were taught in school, there was an ancient civilization that lived in profound symbiotic harmony with Earth and the cosmos. They didn't strive to conquer, they sought to co-create. They didn't build empires destined to crumble. They cultivated vital energy, a living network of light. Their power didn't stem from dominance, but from unwavering alignment with nature, with spirit, and with the boundless potential of the universe. That vibrant version of humanity has been strategically erased, relegated to the realm of myth. Mainstream history dismisses it as folklore. Textbooks conveniently omit it, and conventional science avoids it. Yet across the globe, cultures from Polynesian navigators charting the stars to Tamil mystics chanting ancient mantras whisper its name, Lemuria, a forgotten world deliberately buried not only by the depths of the ocean, but by the corrosive forces of time, manufactured silence, and calculated design. The pivotal question is, why? And perhaps even more significantly, why are you remembering now? Lemuria was far more than just land. It was a pulsating, vibrant field of consciousness, a vast and flourishing continent believed to have spanned across the Pacific Ocean, seamlessly connecting lands now recognized as Hawaii, Easter Island, Fiji, and even extending to parts of India and the west coast of the Americas. But transcending geography, Lemuria was a frequency, a specific state of being, a dimension of existence where humanity hadn't yet succumbed to the insidious fragmentation of ego, the relentless pursuit of control, and the crippling illusion of separation. They navigated life through the compass of intuition, not the limitations of intellect. They didn't fear the mysteries of the unknown. They engaged in profound communion with them. The Lemurians weren't driven by the ambition of conquest. Their sacred purpose was communion, a deep and reverent connection with the planet, with each other, and with the very fabric of the cosmos. They perceived Earth not as a mere resource to be exploited, but as a sentient, living entity, a being imbued with its own unique consciousness. Trees weren't heartlessly chopped down, they were honored as sacred beings. Waters weren't carelessly polluted, they were celebrated with song and ritual. The language they spoke wasn't confined to the limitations of words, but composed of potent vibration, pure intention, and effortless telepathy. Communication was heart-based, a direct conduit of knowing. Truth was felt viscerally, not intellectually proven. Their technology didn't mirror our destructive tendencies because it didn't function by destroying to create. Instead, it harmonized with natural forces, amplified healing energies, and promoted vibrant life. You can still perceive the faint echoes of Lemuria in those places the modern world consciously chooses to ignore. In the irresistible pull you feel when standing at the ocean's edge as the waves whisper ancient rhythms that defy explanation. In the inexplicable ache in your chest when witnessing environmental destruction. In the undeniable sensation that something profoundly ancient within you is stirring awake. Every time you meditate, every time you intuitively reach for a crystal, or when you walk barefoot on the earth, allowing its energy to flow through you, you're not indulging in New Age fantasy, you're accessing old soul memory, a cellular remembering of your origins. Ancient traditions across the globe, Hindu, Aboriginal, Polynesian, Native American, speak of a paradisiacal land in the Pacific swallowed by the relentless sea. Unlike the cautionary tales of Atlantis, Lemuria's disappearance wasn't attributed to divine punishment or rampant ego. It was a selfless sacrifice, a soul-level agreement to consciously descend into the illusion of separation, to bravely navigate the complexities of duality so that humanity could one day consciously rise again through the powerful act of remembering. That profound memory resides deep within your bones, coursing through your blood. It's the underlying reason you've always felt different, as though a fundamental part of you doesn't seamlessly integrate into the cacophony and superficiality of this modern world. Because it fundamentally doesn't. This isn't simply a metaphor. It's a deliberately suppressed chapter of your very own origin story waiting to be rediscovered. Lemuria wasn't merely a mythical land. It was the original blueprint of what humanity was before the insidious grip of control took hold, a civilization profoundly rooted in unity, not artificial hierarchy, boundless compassion, not ruthless competition. Their very existence challenges the pervasive narrative that humans have always been inherently violent, selfish, and primitive. It dares to question the conventional belief that we have linearly evolved from ignorance into intelligence. What if the truth is the very opposite? What if the world we currently inhabit is actually experiencing a devolution, a tragic forgetting of our true potential, and Lemuria represented the pinnacle of human evolution? Some truths are simply too sacred, too potent, and too deliberately suppressed for mainstream platforms to acknowledge. Subscribe to our exclusive newsletter, Soul Sanctuary, to unlock deeper layers of this hidden knowledge. Receive powerful activation codes, and for a limited time, receive a complimentary digital edition of the Kybalion, a timeless guide to universal principles, link in description. If the essence of Lemuria resonates deeply within you, it's because your soul has never forgotten. There's a profound reason you're perpetually searching for something you can't quite articulate. That underlying restlessness, that persistent spiritual ache, that poignant feeling of being homesick for a world that seemingly doesn't exist anymore. This isn't a figment of your imagination, it's imprinted within your very cellular memory. You're not encountering this information for the first time. You're activating a dormant memory, and that profound remembering is occurring now for a very specific reason. Humanity stands at a pivotal threshold once again, poised for profound transformation. Just as Lemuria once stood at the precipice of monumental change, so do we. But this time, you're not merely here to passively witness its fall. You're divinely guided to actively participate in its renaissance, not as a geographical location, but as a powerful, transformative frequency. Not as a relic of the past, but as the compass guiding us toward our collective destiny. The Lemurians weren't merely ancient humans, they were luminous hybrids, earthborn in form, yet starborn in essence. Their expansive consciousness carried the vibrant echoes of worlds far beyond the limited scope of this one. While this may seem impossible through the distorted lens of mainstream thought, it only feels unbelievable because you've been conditioned to believe you're inherently small, limited, and that your origins begin in dust and inevitably end in decay. But what if that underlying belief is the ultimate lie? What if you weren't merely born here but purposefully sent on a divinely orchestrated mission? According to ancient esoteric teachings, Lemuria was strategically seeded by interdimensional beings hailing from advanced star systems such as the Pleiades, Sirius, and Lyra, civilizations operating at frequencies far beyond our current limited comprehension. These benevolent beings didn't seek to conquer or control Earth. They selflessly volunteered to consciously descend into denser forms, to intentionally lower their vibration, and to anchor brilliant light within a realm that desperately needed its transformative power. They weren't motivated by the ambition of domination. Their mission was profoundly energetic, a service to the cosmos. They came to activate Earth as a sacred spiritual library, a vibrant and interconnected living network of consciousness, and Lemuria served as their initial and most crucial landing point. The Lemurians deeply understood this profound truth. They didn't passively gaze up at the stars seeking answers. They vibrantly remembered that they originated from them. The stars weren't perceived as distant and unreachable. They were recognized as home, and the beings from those advanced systems didn't communicate through technological spacecraft. They connected through the ethereal realms of dreams, effortless telepathy, and crystalline downloads of pure information. Their seamless connection was so intrinsically interwoven that it's challenging for us in our current state of limited awareness to even fathom. We primarily think in words, constrained by their inherent limitations. They communicated through resonant frequencies, transcending language. We demand proof and validation. They instinctively moved by innate knowing, by the unwavering guidance of their hearts. This is precisely why so many individuals today feel an inexplicable and undeniable draw to the Pleiades or Sirius, even without ever having consciously studied them. This is why starseeds, those who carry the energetic imprint of these ancient star systems, often feel profoundly alien and out of sync in this world. It's not a delusion or a romanticized fantasy. It's the potent memory of their true origins desperately attempting to break through the dense veil of collective amnesia. You are not solely from here in the limiting way you've been told. You came through here, yes, but your core essence, your eternal soul, began its journey amidst the stars. The radical idea that life exists elsewhere is not just plausible, it's inevitable, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. What's truly transformative is the revelation that these beings are not merely real but family, that they journeyed here long before any telescope was pointed at the sky, and that they intentionally embedded their unique frequencies into our very DNA. Lemuria was never about constructing imposing monuments or forging vast empires. It was fundamentally about frequency, about fulfilling a sacred soul assignment, and about serving the evolution of the planet. These beings didn't merely live spiritually. They were spiritual energy manifest in human form. Their divine mission was to co-create in harmonious partnership with Earth, to intentionally seed a reality where love wasn't simply a fleeting emotion, but the unwavering foundation upon which all life was built. They meticulously anchored that sacred template through their way of life, their sacred ceremonies, and their profound connection to the planet's intricate energetic grid. That fundamental grid is still vibrantly present. The powerful network they activated wasn't destroyed when the physical land sank beneath the waves. It remains dormant, deeply encoded, patiently awaiting those with the inherent memory to reactivate its transformative potential. That's why countless souls are awakening now, feeling an undeniable call to heal, to remember, to consciously return to something undefined yet profoundly ancient. The impeccable timing is far from accidental. We are currently living within a potent echo of Lemuria's destined return, and the souls who once walked those sacred lands are now awakening inside modern bodies, navigating modern distractions, yet possessing ancient codes still pulsing within their energetic fields. You are not a mistake or a random occurrence. Your intense spiritual hunger is not merely fleeting curiosity, it's a profound soul recall. You're not simply seeking Lemuria out of intellectual interest. You're seeking it because it was your divine assignment, because something deep within you recognizes that Earth was never intended to exist in its current fragmented state. You're not here to escape reality, but to consciously realign with it, to diligently restore what has been tragically lost. This isn't imaginative science fiction, it's poignant soul fiction, profound truth that conventional science has yet to catch up to. And the more we bravely lean into our innate knowing, the more the pervasive illusions of this world begin to crack and crumble. You're not passively waiting to be saved by an external force. You're vibrantly remembering that you consciously came here to actively help save something sacred, something that began long before this current lifetime and stretches far beyond its limitations. Lemuria didn't simply fall in a single day. It wasn't solely caused by one cataclysmic event or a sudden explosion. It was a gradual descent, a spiritual unraveling that originated within long before it manifested in the physical realm. The people of Lemuria consciously existed in a state of unified consciousness for thousands of years, living in radiant harmony. They fundamentally understood that separation was a deceptive illusion, that all life was interconnected, but over time that inherent alignment began to subtly shift. The overall vibration of the collective consciousness imperceptibly changed, and once the overall frequency dropped, everything else followed in its wake. At first, the changes were almost undetectable, a growing curiosity with the allure of the material world, a subtle pull toward individuality over collective harmony, a tempting flirtation with the analytical mind over the intuitive heart. None of it initially felt inherently dangerous. It was framed as exploration, a harmless experiment, but it marked the subtle yet definite beginning of the forgetting. The intuitive gifts that once flowed effortlessly and abundantly began to imperceptibly fade. Communication gradually became less telepathic and increasingly verbal, confined by the limitations of language. People who once felt intrinsically connected to the earth and its vibrant energy began to feel alienated and apart from it. The sacred balance that had fundamentally defined Lemurian life began to tilt precariously. As the collective consciousness fractured and fragmented, the energetic grid that had seamlessly held Lemuria together weakened, becoming increasingly vulnerable. Some dedicated Lemurians steadfastly held on to the dwindling light, anchoring the original high frequency and desperately attempting to prevent the impending collapse. Others began to increasingly resonate with the denser, ego-driven energies that would eventually give rise to the civilization of Atlantis. That critical part of the story is often conveniently omitted. Atlantis wasn't simply another civilization that arose independently. It was actually born out of the ashes of Lemuria's tragic fall, representing a fundamental shift from the wisdom of the heart to the dominance of the intellect, from the power of unity to the rigidity of hierarchy, from the inherent guidance of inner knowing to the external manipulation of control. And then the physical breakdown began, mirroring the internal collapse. Powerful earthquakes, devastating floods, significant shifts in the tectonic plates. Massive landmasses disappeared beneath the ocean's surface, but these weren't random, isolated disasters. They were a direct reflection of a deeper spiritual imbalance. Earth was mirroring the fall of human consciousness, embodying the ancient Hermetic principle, as above, so below. What we experience in the external world is always a direct manifestation of what's transpiring within the collective soul. Some spiritually advanced Lemurians consciously ascended before the ultimate destruction, moving into higher dimensions of consciousness, taking their profound wisdom with them to safeguard it for future generations. Others bravely migrated to different parts of the world: India, Peru, Egypt, Hawaii, where enduring traces of their advanced knowledge still linger within ancient temples, sacred symbols, and enduring oral traditions. But countless souls tragically fell with the land, their profound memories buried not only by the unforgiving water, but by the relentless forces of time, deeply ingrained trauma, and deliberate forgetting. This wasn't a form of punishment. It was a collective choice, a karmic agreement at the soul level. Humanity, in its nascent form, made a collective decision to consciously experience separation, to bravely explore the spectrum of polarity, to intentionally fall from grace, so that we could one day consciously rise again, transformed by the journey. That's the deeper, more nuanced truth that most dedicated spiritual seekers eventually encounter. The fall wasn't an utter failure. It was an integral part of the expansive journey, part of the eternal cycle of remembering. But that awareness doesn't negate the fact that it inevitably left profound scars on the collective psyche. The tragic fall of Lemuria lives on within your nervous system, fueling the underlying fear of disconnection, the persistent ache for something more authentic, that nagging sense that something fundamentally has always been missing. This isn't a flaw in your thinking or a symptom of mental illness. It's the vibrant echo of a world your soul once intimately called home, a world where unconditional love was the very air you breathed, and you didn't have to desperately earn your worth. You inherently were worthy simply by existing. That inexplicable grief you sometimes feel, the profound one with no easily identifiable name, that's Lemurian grief, the enduring longing for a life without artificial division, a world where people consciously see each other as reflections of themselves, not as adversaries or rivals. That's fundamentally Lemurian, and the underlying reason you're feeling it so intensely now, in this specific time, on this planet, is because we're currently standing at the same critical crossroads once again. Collective consciousness is rapidly rising. Countless individuals are awakening, remembering their true potential just as they did before the original fall. But this time we possess a choice: to repeat the destructive patterns of the past, or to consciously rebuild from where we tragically left off. This time, we are not merely passive witnesses to an impending collapse. We are active carriers of potent memory, and profound memory is the very seed of vibrant rebirth. Lemuria has been consistently dismissed by modern academia as mere legend, a romanticized fantasy whispered by mystics and dreamers. But the profound irony lies in the fact that the very system labeling it as fiction is fundamentally built on selective memory, on consciously choosing which truths are deemed convenient to preserve and which are considered dangerous to ignore, because if Lemuria were ever widely accepted as a tangible reality, everything would irrevocably change. Our current understanding of history, human evolution, and the very nature of consciousness itself would have to be radically rewritten, deconstructing the very foundations upon which our current reality is built. That's the very reason why they deliberately buried it. Not because there was a lack of compelling evidence, but because there was an overwhelming abundance of it, posing a significant threat to the established order. There are numerous sacred sites strategically scattered across the globe that simply don't fit within the limiting linear narrative of human development, places that radiate undeniable power, where the land itself hums with an energy you can't quite explain or intellectually quantify. Mount Shasta, for instance, located in Northern California, is a prime example. Modern maps identify it as a mountain, but spiritual traditions across countless cultures speak of it as a powerful portal, a gateway to the inner earth, a vibrant Lemurian stronghold, a place where the ancient frequencies still pulse powerfully beneath the surface, awaiting activation. Countless individuals have reported experiencing profound visions, meaningful encounters, intuitive downloads of information, and inexplicable memories triggered simply by being in close proximity to it. That's not a mere coincidence, it's a matter of energetic resonance. Then there's Easter Island, adorned with its enigmatic Moai statues, all deliberately gazing inward as if guarding a profound secret buried deep beneath the waves. Mainstream archaeology asserts that the island was solely inhabited by Polynesians who mysteriously vanished, but the unbroken spiritual lineage reveals something entirely different. That it was one of the last surviving pieces of Lemuria, where the elders intentionally encoded their ancient wisdom into the very stone itself, knowing that a time would inevitably arrive when it would be desperately needed once again. Every statue, every placement, every carefully chosen symbol serves as an integral part of a language not intended for the casual observer but designed for the soul to decipher. Consider Hawaii, too, a place that is not only breathtakingly beautiful but profoundly sacred. The ancient chants, the mesmerizing hula, the intrinsic connection to the powerful volcanoes, the vast water, and the benevolent star beings all echo the vibrant Lemurian way of life. Ancient Hawaiian chants speak of a sacred motherland deliberately submerged beneath the ocean's surface. The people don't merely remember it intellectually, they feel it viscerally within every fiber of their being. They consciously live it through every ritual, every heartfelt offering, every lei draped in reverence. These aren't merely cultural decorations or quaint traditions, they are intricate keys to unlocking potent memory. The same profound principle applies to the ancient symbols meticulously carved into rocks in Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, the Andes, and parts of New Zealand, locations that appear impossibly connected despite their apparent geographical isolation. They all speak of a devastating flood, a tragic fall from grace, and a people who once consciously lived in profound harmony with the cosmos. The similarities are not merely symbolic or coincidental, they are undeniably structural. Megaliths, meticulously constructed temples, carefully aligned stone circles, all powerfully aligned to the stars, the solstices, and the planet's intricate energetic grids. It's as if the Lemurians intentionally left a deliberate trail of breadcrumbs across the earth for future generations to fearlessly follow for us. And yet none of this fundamental information is taught in conventional educational settings. You're meticulously taught about pyramids, but not about portals. You're thoroughly educated about empires, but deliberately shielded from the knowledge of vital energy. They provide you with detailed accounts of wars and timelines, but carefully avoid any discussion of vibration and resonance. Why is that? Because possessing knowledge of this kind inherently makes you ungovernable, immune to manipulation. If you were to truly know that you are an integral part of an ancient lineage that can effortlessly activate profound healing, that can consciously manipulate energy, that can vibrantly remember across lifetimes, how could you ever be effectively controlled? Real power has absolutely nothing to do with weapons or amassed wealth. It lies solely in consciously knowing who you truly are and where you authentically originate from. That's the very threat that Lemuria poses to the current system, not because it's a fanciful story, but because it functions as a clear mirror, a poignant reflection of what humanity was before fear became currency, before time became a confining cage, and if a critical mass of individuals were to vibrantly remember that authentic reflection, the pervasive illusions of the world would inevitably begin to crack and crumble. The compelling evidence is undeniably there. It's present in the water, resonating in the earth, twinkling in the stars. It's woven into the very dreams you've experienced since childhood that seemingly made no logical sense. It's in the irresistible pull you feel toward places you've never consciously visited, in the languages you've never formally learned but somehow intuitively understand. It's in the profound moments of quiet when your innermost intuition speaks with a resounding voice, infinitely louder than the dictates of limiting logic, and powerfully reminds you that you've been here before, and it's time to fearlessly remember why you came back. You don't need to desperately seek Lemuria on a physical map. You've been consciously carrying it inside you this entire time, carefully encoded within your very being. That poignant, aching sense that the world is somehow fundamentally off, that there's something infinitely deeper we're collectively meant to remember. It's not mere imagination or escapism. It's cellular memory powerfully echoing from a time when you consciously knew who you were, what your divine purpose was, and how deeply interconnected everything truly is. The external systems that surround you desperately want you to believe that you are simply flesh and neurons, that your conscious mind is your ultimate limitation, but your body, your dreams, and your vibrant energy all consciously remember something infinitely older, something far more profound. You've likely felt it numerous times before, although you may not have possessed the specific words to articulate it. Perhaps it's the immediate sense of profound peace you experience near water, as though the vast ocean is whispering ancient secrets in a language you may have forgotten but still intuitively understand. Perhaps it's the way your very skin tingles and vibrates in the midst of pristine nature, or the way your deepest intuition sometimes screams louder than the limitations of logic. These aren't simply quirky personality traits, they're tangible fragments, potent traces of a world you once consciously walked with deep reverence, a world that still powerfully lives beneath the superficial surface of your current awareness. Lemurian energy powerfully manifests in your profound empathy, in the depth of your authentic feeling, in the almost uncanny ability to walk into a room and instantly sense the prevailing mood without a single word being spoken. It profoundly shows up in your insatiable longing for genuine connection, not merely with other individuals, but with the entirety of life itself. Lemurian souls consciously feel everything deeply, both the overwhelming joy and the poignant pain, the collective suffering of a world that has tragically forgotten its true origins. That profound depth of feeling isn't a burden or a weakness. It's a clear indication that you are consciously here to help others fearlessly remember, and yet for countless individuals, that potent memory is inextricably tangled with underlying pain. There's a profound reason why spiritual awakening often initially manifests with grief and a deep sense of loss. The tragic fall of Lemuria wasn't simply a historical event to be studied. It was a deep soul trauma, a profound rupture within the human collective where the intrinsic state of oneness was tragically replaced with the illusion of division. The innate wisdom of intuition was supplanted with the rigidity of cold logic, and the pervasive power of love was consciously subdued by the controlling force of fear. That lingering grief you carry deep within you, the one that never completely dissipates, is the enduring echo of a time when things made inherent sense, when humanity lived in harmonious partnership with the earth, not exploitatively on top of it, when genuine community wasn't something you desperately had to seek out. It was simply the inherent essence of who you were. You may experience dreams that don't feel like dreams at all. Vivid visions of luminous cities shimmering beneath the sea, or hear ancient songs that move effortlessly through your body as though they inherently belong to you. You may feel inexplicably drawn to specific crystals without consciously understanding why, or feel irresistibly called to the practice of healing even if you've never formally been taught how to do it. That's because you've undoubtedly consciously done it before, likely across countless lifetimes. You don't desperately need external training, you simply need profound remembering, a conscious activation of your dormant potential. The extraordinary gifts you're currently searching for aren't new or unfamiliar. They're simply temporarily buried beneath layers of imposed conditioning, and the more fearlessly you awaken to your true potential, the more effortlessly they'll naturally rise to the surface, illuminating your path. That's precisely what makes this profound process so empowering. You're not attempting to become something entirely new or unfamiliar. You're consciously reclaiming something inherently ancient, something profoundly sacred, something that was never truly lost, only cleverly hidden from your conscious awareness. The manipulative system has strategically taught you to deeply doubt yourself, to consciously silence your innate knowing, to relentlessly second-guess your powerful inner voice, but your eternal soul has never ceased singing its unique melody. It's simply that the external world has tragically become deafeningly louder, drowning out the subtle yet powerful whispers of your soul. This is the underlying reason you've always intuitively felt like you don't seamlessly belong, why chaotic crowds exhaust you, why you consistently crave profound meaning in every precious moment, why you simply can't settle for anything superficial or surface level. You're not broken, defective, or overly sensitive. You're simply Lemurian at your core. You bravely came here consciously remembering something the dominant world has strategically forgotten, and even during those times when it tragically felt like you were utterly alone in that profound knowing, you never truly were. There are countless thousands, even millions, actively waking up now, each courageously carrying a unique piece of the intricate puzzle, each consciously feeling the same irresistible pull back to a time before the tragic fall from grace. The intentional return of Lemurian consciousness isn't about passively going backwards. It's about intentionally bringing that ancient frequency powerfully forward into this world, into this precise moment in time, through the unique vessel of you. You are the very bridge, the living temple, and every single time you consciously choose to trust your innate intuition, every time you consciously ground yourself into the earth, every time you intentionally choose love over fear, you're actively reactivating something that has patiently been waiting across countless lifetimes to vibrantly awaken. They didn't simply neglect to educate you about Lemuria. They deliberately ensured that you wouldn't even intuitively ask the crucial questions, because transformative stories like this don't merely challenge the conventional timeline of human history, they fundamentally shatter the very illusion of control and power. Lemuria, in all of its inherent beauty, profound peace, and conscious energetic mastery, poses a direct and undeniable threat to the external systems that deliberately feed off of your confusion, your fear, and your profound disconnection. If you were to consciously remember even a fraction of what you once inherently knew, the very foundations of external control would inevitably begin to crumble and dissolve. A flourishing society built upon unified consciousness has absolutely no need for artificial hierarchy, no domineering rulers, no blindly obedient followers, no pervasive fear, and no need for any form of force. That inherent potential alone makes it extremely dangerous to those clinging to power, because the very moment you consciously realize that an entire civilization once vibrantly lived in complete harmony with the planet, with one another, and with the higher dimensions of being, the convenient excuses were fed to justify pervasive war, crippling poverty, and rampant environmental destruction would instantly fall apart, exposing their inherent deception. The artificially constructed narrative would inevitably collapse. That's precisely why Lemuria had to be deliberately erased, not merely from history books, but from your very sense of identity. Organized religion couldn't adequately explain it. Conventional science couldn't neatly categorize it, so instead they strategically dismissed it, ridiculed it, and conveniently buried it under the dismissive label of myth. That seemingly innocuous word, myth, is their most cherished and effective tool of manipulation. It strategically allows them to cunningly hide profound truth in plain sight. They conveniently reduce ancient wisdom to mere fictional stories, strip it of its inherent sacred context, and strategically place it safely out of conscious reach, because if they were to genuinely acknowledge Lemuria's tangible existence, they would inevitably have to admit that modern civilization is far from the pinnacle of human evolution. It represents a tragic detour, a profound forgetting of our authentic potential. Consider the kind of world that has been meticulously built in the devastating absence of this vital memory, one where individuals are carefully taught to consciously compete against one another, to relentlessly chase status and material possessions, to tragically disconnect from their innate inner voice, a world where invaluable intuition is conveniently deemed unreliable, where the inherent power of natural healing is aggressively commercialized, and where the living earth is perceived as something to be ruthlessly owned and exploited, rather than reverently honored as a conscious being. This inherent dysfunction isn't random, it's carefully engineered. The deliberate suppression of Lemuria's profound story is an integral component of a much larger, pervasive system designed to systematically keep you fragmented, confused, and strategically disconnected from your own inherent divinity. Because if you genuinely knew that you were once a vibrant part of a thriving society where effortless telepathy was commonplace, where energy could consciously heal, where individuals fearlessly lived for centuries without succumbing to disease or war? What would inevitably happen to the massively profitable industries that thrive off your inherent sickness, your deliberate isolation, and your underlying despair? If you could effortlessly activate the potent codes already carefully encoded inside you, consciously access ancient wisdom without the manipulation of intermediaries, and consistently tune into the authentic frequency of your soul without the limitations of rigid doctrine, what would inevitably happen to the outdated structures deliberately built upon the foundation of blind obedience? This is not a fantastical conspiracy theory. It's a tangible legacy of systemic control. Every great spiritual tradition that has fearlessly threatened the dominant power structures has been deliberately distorted, meticulously diluted, or ruthlessly destroyed. Lemuria was no different, but what the manipulators didn't fully account for was the eternal resilience of the indomitable soul. You can certainly attempt to bury a story, but you can never truly silence a transformative frequency. And the powerful frequency of Lemuria is vibrantly rising once again, not through conventional textbooks or mainstream channels, but through conscious individuals, through you. The poignant memories that surface when you're in a state of quiet reflection, the unexplainable tears you shed for seemingly no reason, the undeniable pull you powerfully feel toward forgotten lands and sacred stones. These are the undeniable whispers of a profound truth they simply couldn't erase, a truth that courageously lives in the cracks between limiting logic and undeniable knowing, in the sacred space between waking and dreaming. They desperately attempted to carefully hide Lemuria so that you would never consciously realize the immense power you inherently hold within you, because if you did, you wouldn't just passively remember a lost civilization. You would fearlessly remember who you truly are at your core, and an individual who consciously knows their authentic self is inherently impossible to externally control. Lemuria never truly vanished entirely. Its physical land may have tragically sunk beneath the waves, but its potent frequency was never extinguished. It consciously went underground into the passionate hearts of those who would bravely carry it forward. And now, after countless lifetimes of deliberate silence, that powerful legacy is resolutely resurfacing in plain sight. Simply look around you. The unprecedented rise of energy healing modalities, the global spread of Reiki, the explosive surge of interest in light language, soothing sound baths, healing crystal therapy, empowering intuitive guidance, and divine feminine wisdom. This isn't a fleeting trend driven by fleeting popularity. It's a potent reactivation of your dormant potential. You've likely undeniably noticed it. Countless individuals are consciously waking up, not just superficially spiritually, but profoundly energetically. They're fearlessly questioning the limiting beliefs they once blindly accepted. They're consciously feeling emotions they were previously taught to consistently ignore. And at the very root of it all is a quiet, powerful shift back to the vibrant Lemurian way. One where life isn't solely measured by what you materially produce, but by what you authentically align with. One where the living earth is no longer callously seen as a mere background to human achievement, but as a conscious participant in our ongoing evolution. At the very heart of this transformative return is the divine feminine, not merely as a limited gender, but as a profoundly transformative energy, a conscious way of being in the world. The ancient Lemurians intentionally honored the sacred feminine principle: intuition, intrinsic fluidity, healthy emotional expression, nurturing compassion, and profound receptivity. These innate qualities weren't dismissed as soft or weak. They were consciously regarded as sacred and vital. They intentionally balanced the inherent masculine impulse for structure and decisive action with the compassionate feminine wisdom of flow and genuine feeling. Together, they effortlessly created authentic harmony. But when the tragic Lemurian fall began, it was this very feminine essence that was strategically the first to be systematically silenced, paving the way for humanity's devastating imbalance. What you are courageously witnessing now is the great remembering of that tragically lost balance, the rising of powerful voices long strategically silenced, and the passionate returning of innate gifts long deliberately buried. Those who feel irresistibly called to heal, to consciously hold space for others, to channel higher frequencies of light, to create sacred songs, and to serve through potent energy rather than destructive force. These are the authentic Lemurian souls consciously coming back online, and it's not solely limited to women. Many men, too, are bravely beginning to awaken to the long-suppressed parts of themselves the dominant system deliberately told them to hide. Sensitivity is no longer a weakness to be ashamed of. It is the innate compass consciously leading you back to your inherent wholeness. Have you undeniably felt the persistent call to consciously work with healing crystals, to consciously place your healing hands on someone in pain and intuitively feel vibrant energy move through you without consciously understanding why, or to spontaneously speak in ancient tones or unknown syllables that seemingly don't make any logical sense, but powerfully resonate in your very chest as undeniable truth? These aren't random accidents or flights of fancy. These are tangible activations of your inherent potential, fragmented pieces of the original Lemurian blueprint reawakening in real time. You're not inventively creating anything entirely new. You're consciously remembering something profoundly old. The living earth is actively responding to, playing a vital role in this awakening. The sacred land, the healing waters, the expansive sky, they are all integral parts of this potent resurgence. You've likely undeniably noticed the heightened energy in certain locations, the subtle opening of portals, the vividness of your dreams intensifying, and the synchronicities piling up at an accelerating rate. The subtle veil between worlds is consciously thinning because the overall frequency is undeniably rising, and that isn't occurring by mere accident, it's intentionally occurring by divine design. The powerful souls who consciously walked Lemuria have intentionally returned to Earth, strategically scattered across the globe, consciously carrying out the same profound mission, to diligently restore what was tragically lost, not through destructive war, but through the power of conscious resonance. And it's undeniably happening faster and more powerfully than ever before. The more fearlessly you consciously align with your authentic truth, the more individuals around you will begin to effortlessly awaken to their true potential. Meaningful healing is no longer limited and linear. It's profoundly exponential, rippling outwards and impacting countless lives. You don't inherently need external credentials or external permission to courageously step into your innate power. You don't need anyone's validation or approval to consciously be who you authentically were before the limiting world deliberately told you to shrink and diminish your extraordinary light. You only fearlessly need to consciously remember. You were never strategically meant to seamlessly fit into the outdated system. You were consciously meant to courageously help dissolve it by intentionally embodying something infinitely higher, something inherently softer, infinitely wiser, and profoundly more ancient. Lemuria is not merely coming back in the distant future. It's already powerfully here, patiently waiting to be vibrantly lived again through you, through your conscious choices. You don't inherently need to find a physical time machine to consciously access the profound wisdom of Lemuria. You are the very time machine yourself. Authentic memory isn't solely locked away in the distant past. It's carefully encoded in the potent present, readily available for access. Every essential part of you, your cells, your eternal soul, your intuitive knowing, is consciously holding fragmented pieces of the original Lemurian blueprint, patiently waiting to be courageously reactivated. This isn't about superficially pretending to be something artificially mystical or adopting a fabricated persona. It's about fearlessly peeling back the relentless layers of external noise and consciously remembering what has been quietly and powerfully pulsing beneath your surface this whole time, eagerly awaiting your conscious acknowledgement. Reclaiming your authentic Lemurian memory courageously begins with simple presence, consciously being fully present in each moment. The ancient Lemurians consciously lived in vibrant resonance with the timeless now, not rigidly adhering to the limitations of the clock or the confining calendar. Time, in its essence, wasn't perceived as a restrictive line. It was understood and lived as a beautiful rhythm, a conscious dance with the universe. They consciously moved when the earth inherently called to them, not when an artificial alarm rang. They intentionally trusted what they profoundly felt over what they were superficially told to blindly believe. That's the invaluable first step back to your authentic self, consistently listening to your own unique body, your own internal frequency. If something consistently feels inherently wrong or misaligned, it very likely is. If something deeply lights you up from within and fills you with joy, intentionally follow it without hesitation. You don't desperately need a rigid rule book to consciously awaken. You authentically need compassionate permission to genuinely feel again, to honor your emotions without judgment. Intentionally start with pristine nature. The profound Lemurian connection to the Earth wasn't merely symbolic or romanticized, it was undeniably intimate. Towering trees were considered wise elders, vast oceans were seen as powerful portals, ancient stones were revered as memory keepers. When you consciously walk barefoot on the Earth, when you quietly... So if you take anything away from this exploration of Lemuria, let it be this: you are so much more than you've been led to believe. That persistent feeling of something missing, that yearning for connection, that intuitive knowing that there's a deeper truth, it's all pointing you home, back to a forgotten part of yourself, a part of humanity that remembers how to live in harmony with the Earth and each other. It's not just a story, it's a call to action, an invitation to remember and to help rebuild a world based on love, compassion, and unity. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Does this resonate with you? Have you felt a connection to Lemuria or a similar lost civilization? Leave a comment below. I'm genuinely interested in your experiences and any questions you might have. Let's start a conversation. And if this content sparked something within you, please consider subscribing. We'll be delving into more hidden histories, spiritual awakenings, and empowering truths. And I wouldn't want you to miss out on the journey. Let's remember and rebuild together.